If I pull up the vessel, I've got all of the forthcoming ports of call. It's super easy to see the information that's represented in the Dataloy VMS that's also ported across seamlessly into the Greywing platform. And what's great about this is that it's super easy for any other stakeholders within a crewing organization or a shipping company to be able to access this information. It's not got any commercially sensitive information, but it's got the crewing and ports of call that are going to enable us to start planning a crew change. So what I can do then is I can come down, I can say, well, okay, I need to do a crew change. I can see my on and off signers. I've got everyone lined up here. I've got all of the ports of call that are set up here that you can see that are numbered off. And then I can start the planning process. So the first thing you'll see is it brings up all of the on and off signers. I can add on an additional crew member or maybe a superintendent if I'm signing them on for that voyage. And it's pretty easy. I mean, I can select everybody. I can, then start to review the route and think about where the vessel's going to be going. If there's a requirement, and this very rarely happens, a crew operator could amend the route. But actually, if I want to find a port to do a crew change, I can just go through and start looking for potential ports where I might like to consider a crew change. So it's pretty simple to select the top three. So we've got Manila, Fujairah, and Suez. I might even select Singapore as well, because for a lot of our clients, Singapore would be an optimal place to do a crew change, but also to do a lot of other business. And then the great thing about Greywing is we're not only integrated with Dataloy, we're also integrated with some of the leading port agencies, such as Wilhelmsen, and we can pull up the average cost of a crew change right here for Wilhelmsen. So it's super easy to see what that information is like. And we can also pull up port state restrictions. That's interesting. Okay, so here are the port state restrictions. I think they must have still have been loading. You may have noticed my my Wi-Fi connection is not non-optimal. But we update these regularly, and for our client vessels, we automatically reach out to forthcoming ports of call to the agents that operate there to make sure that we can deliver the most up-to-date information on crew change and port state restrictions, which is super simple for us to do, but it gives a great benefit to the crew managers. And if they need to share this information with perhaps a client, if you're a manager, or internally with other stakeholders in the organization, you can just copy a link and share that information. It's not a problem. So we've selected 4 ports of call where we'd like to consider a crew change. We're pulling the data about where the ports are that the vessel's heading to from Dataloy, and we've got pricing from Wilhelmsen. The main thing we're really missing, and we've also got the port state restrictions. The main thing that we are missing at this point is the flights. So we can now go through and start looking for flight options. So the great thing about Greywing is we can plug into your existing flight vendors. So a lot of clients we work with have deep relationships with their travel management companies, and they've been working with them for years. And we're here to really reinforce those relationships so that they can access the best service at the touch of a button and to get the benefit of that digitization. And I love this because within a couple of seconds, we've generated flight options for the on and off signers at 3 different locations where we've got a full crew change. Manila, okay, we're missing a couple of potential flights here, so I can have a look at these filters. I've also got a few additional filters that I can use to see if they give me any flight options. Okay, so another one's come up. And then perhaps I've got 1 on signer and I've got 1 off signer that are missing flights. And I think this is super important. Having the ability to, okay, I've looked at some flight options, I've got them in front of me, they don't quite suit me. I need to find some more. And I think the great thing about Greywing is within a couple of seconds, if those flight options don't suit you, we can pull out some additional flight options and give you the ability to start making some different choices. So Manila's actually maybe not going to give me flight options here. So what I might do is go straight through and compare flights at the other ports of call that we've got. So this is right at the heart of where Greywing offers the most benefit to our clients. The key benefit we offer is the ability to rapidly move through a workflow of assessing different ports of call, different port agents, assessing costs from your travel management company, and then finding the cost that works best for you. Now, perhaps unsurprisingly, the best place to do a crew change in this location is actually Suez. But the funny thing is if I'd have done this demo a couple of days ago, which I did for a client, the best case was actually, in that case, Belgium. And it's having that ability to reach out and grab those lower flight prices on the basis of where you're conducting a crew change that really gives Greywing the power to cut costs, but also to speed up that workflow of going from, okay, a new laycan has just been confirmed and the vessel's been nominated on Dataloy, to, okay, what are my crew change options for that next port of call, wherever it may be. And Greywing takes that process and cuts it down from hours and days to run through that workflow to just a few minutes. So at this stage, we've got a crew change option, we've got flights, we've selected the most efficient option for this crew change, which is a few $1,000s cheaper than its alternatives. And Greywing automatically creates all of the emails to reach out to your planning agent, your travel agent, to the port agent, and also to the master. And what clients like about our ability to template the emails is that there's no manual cut and paste of crew passport details. All of the information is automatically pushed in there and it's just generated. And you could send one email to trigger a crew change. You may have to send up to 4 emails to trigger a crew change. But with Greywing, you're only going to have to push that button once. So that is the key. If I had to say what's the one thing that we do brilliantly, that's what it is. I can run through that process in just a couple of minutes. It took a bit longer because I'm trying to explain as I go. And much of that information can be delivered extremely rapidly. What I might just show you now is what happens if I've actually got that flight that I need to find for that seafarer. Let's say they're in Amsterdam and I need them to get to where did we say I need them to get to? Manila. Then it's pretty simple to pump that information in. And that's interesting. Let me okay, that's better. Pretty easy to pump that information in. Select the appropriate date, whenever it is, and then to pull out some flights. So, a lot of our clients, they need to check the flights that they're getting from their travel management companies, and many of them perhaps erroneously use Skyscanner. Now, Skyscanner can be a good indication of if a flight is scheduled, but it may not be a good indication of whether a flight's actually going. And also what you will not get from Skyscanner is a marine fares. Whereas with Greywing, we give you all of the functionality to be able to say, what kind of flight am I looking for? How many stops would I like the flight to have? You can see here that we only show marine fares, although you could see normal fares if you wish, so that clients can very quickly get to, okay, what is the right cost for a marine fare on this date for this nationality of seafarer traveling on this journey. And I think that primarily wraps up most of the parts around how we plan and optimize a crew change. Greywing has many other tools. I don't think this is the forum in which to go into them. We help our clients, set up reminders, notifications, communication between teams. All of the data that we pull into Greywing we can use in Greywing, but if you need us to share it with other vendors, other software platforms, we're an open system. We can open up that API. We don't charge for integrations, and we're really here to more efficiently connect our clients and hopefully you in the future to your vendors in a digital way that's going to enable you to operate more efficiently in the future, and to probably, if you're a crew manager, to spend less time planning crew changes, which is really what this platform is all about. So I think that's it from me. I'd be happy to take questions, or perhaps Rishi, there's something that you'd like me to cover, or Meghna, maybe there's something that you'd like me to run through, or perhaps there's something you'd like to talk about.
Thanks, Bud. So nothing specific, but just from a technical perspective and in terms of what we've been able to achieve, I'll point out that this particular integration, especially for us, is incredibly unique in that all of the information that gets communicated happens in real time. And we get all of the information that you would need from that VMS. And that lets us do things for crewing teams, where I think Nick's mentioned that briefly, where they can set up very specific filters and get alerts on that, combined with what our platform knows about the world. So you can get alerts when certain things happen to your vessel, so they go into an area while restrictions are updated. And it lets us automate just a whole lot more because of that very tight communication.
Brilliant, thanks, Rishi. Yeah, I think our experience with Dataloy has only been positive, and I think the really exciting stuff is going to happen when we start working with mutual clients, because all of the innovations that I've shown you here today, Rishi and his team of engineers have built them, but all of the inspiration, all of the insights has come from customers. And I think that's what's important about Greywing's approach, is that we are deeply centered on the customer's problem and how we can solve that. So I think that's it from me, Hege. I really appreciate having the opportunity to talk with you and to talk with your team, and I'd be happy to take any questions if anyone has any.
Thank you very much, Nick and Rishi, and also Meghna, who's in the back there. Few technical problems here, but I think we managed to land it smoothly still. I'm impressed with the speed that you have managed to connect our two systems. And I just wanted to say, whenever you are, because I know that you are quick in development, and that Dataloy technical people are not really necessary to speak to also in that, so we don't hold you back in any way. I think that's also nice for the audience to know. Just starting with one question here. Do vessel route modification need to be updated on both systems separately?
That's an interesting question. So Greywing's got the ability to change a vessel's route so that you can more efficiently plan a crew change. And it might just be because a crew manager wants to go through a thought experiment of what's going to happen if a vessel does X, Y, or Z. But I think the important thing for us is that there's that single source of truth. And for the commercial operations of the vessel, that will always be Dataloy. So we will always pull the information from Dataloy. If a crew operator or crew manager changes any of the information within Greywing, that's not going to then impact the vessel operation planning that is set up in Dataloy. I think there's a really clear boundary between the crewing teams and the commercial teams. And unfortunately, sometimes we just have to wait for the commercial teams to make that decision, book that cargo, nominate that vessel, and close that business before we can start planning the crew change. But with Greywing, you can do that a lot sooner with the Dataloy integration than you would otherwise be able to if you're waiting for the commercial team to perhaps drop you an email or come back to you.
Yeah. Another question regarding email. How does Greywing integrate with the customer mail systems?
Well, that's a good question. So, I mean, the way that we integrate with our customers' email is that you trigger the email from Greywing, and then all of the responses will come directly back to the operator that sent the email in the first place. So if Megna were to use Greywing to maybe email the port agents, the master, anyone else involved as a stakeholder in the crew change, and they responded, that email would not come to Greywing. It would go directly back to Megna, and she would pick up the communication as usual. And I think we tried to meet customers where they are, which is email's a useful tool. They just need less of it. So happy to expand on that. And it might also be worth saying, if customers are using other Dataloy partners like Sedna, we'd be happy to look at an integration with them. I've already been in touch with their partnerships team, and I think when the right opportunity comes up, there'll be something to do together.
It's nice to hear that the ecosystem might be even growing even bigger. So that's nice to know. A new question here. Are clients or suppliers able to compare their vendors' quotations outside of the crew change?
So that's an interesting question. And you mentioned ecosystem. So the way that we set Greywing up is that everyone lives within their own ecosystem. So, if a client invites their suppliers into their ecosystem, then, the client's going to be able to review the quotations and the pricing from those suppliers. But it's not something that's on general release. There's never going to be a scenario where someone can come onto Greywing unless they've got a, contract of services or business with your organization and look at your pricing. Really, again, this comes back to we're here to lock in existing relationships and to make them run a lot more smoothly. But a common question from clients is, are other ship operators going to be able to see any of the information around where my vessel is going to be trading? That cannot happen because it's all within one ecosystem. And actually, another question we get from suppliers is, well, if I put my pricing on your platform, other suppliers, are they going to be able to see it? And that could never happen. It's only going to be available to the client that you have a contract with. And in any case, they already have your pricing.
I think you mentioned this previously, but does Greywing charge for integrations? Do they take a cut from the data shown on the platform, for instance?
So we don't charge from integrations, for integrations, sorry, and we don't get anything from any of our vendors on the platform. So if you're working with your travel management company or your port agent, you have a contract with them, you pay them, and you pay, Greywing separately, a very reasonable monthly fee, and we sit in the background. We're not here to charge commission. We're not here to make things more expensive. We're really here to be, completely independent as a platform that works for ship operators, assessing where and when they conduct crew change operations or other owners' OpEx operations. And were we to earn a commission, then we could not have that independence from the transaction.
Yeah. Good to know. Thank you for that answer. One question regarding what about Dataloy? Do they charge for any API call made? I can also answer that and say that no, the answer is no. In the Dataloy ecosystem, there's no charge either way. There are no cuts going, nothing. There's no commercial ties. The Dataloy partner or the ecosystem is kind of made for the Dataloy VMS customers, for their choice to create the best suite of systems for their operations. I don't know if you want to comment any further on that, Nick.
No, I mean, our experience with Dataloy is that you guys do not charge for API calls, and essentially you've given us the platform so that we can build products that serve your customers better. So yeah, no charge at all.
Yeah. I think it's nice to be open. I think one of the data values is honesty and openness. So that's important to say. If there are any other questions out there, please feel free to send them in. I don't know if any of you three Greywing participants have any other information you want to share? What are you working on, now? Any new fancy stuff which might be coming on?
Well, I will say something about this, but it might not be the response that you'd like. What I can say is that there were some things that we were going to show on the webinar, but I was disallowed from taking them to market by our team because they're still a secret. So what I can say is, if you're a Dataloy customer and you'd like to find out, that there's more tricks that we have in the bag that are not yet in the open marketplace, but that we're working with customers with already. So, what I'll say is, Rishi and the engineering team have been building some artificial intelligence tools that enable clients to more accurately optimize a crew change that deliver clear-cut cost reduction on the execution of that crew change, which I mean, they're really cool. So I think it's one of the natures of working in software development and the tech industry is that we can be open about a lot of the things that we do, but there are some things that we really need to get to 200% in terms of how operational they are before we take them to market. But there is some exciting stuff coming.
Good. So then we can agree that we will have a new webinar when we are 200% sure that everything is working as it should. So the audience here, and maybe also more, will be able to see that in not too long. We can agree on that.
Yep, yeah, let's do it. We'll come back. And it's a pleasure to be invited back. It's been a great experience working with you guys. Yeah.
Thank you, likewise. Oh, there's one more Q&A here. Will the recording of this meeting be available for participants? Answer is yes. When the download is ready, we will put this up, and it will be on demand. So, but yes, this is available for download in a few hours or latest by tomorrow. So the answer is yes to that. See, was there another question? No, there was a thank you for answering questions. So you were very welcome. I think that was the questions that I've seen. Just checking again. Yeah, I think we have answered the questions that have come in. So I would just like to thank Greywing for attending, performing the demonstration, and informing the audience about the opportunities here. And thank everybody attending. It was really nice to see so many joining. And as I said, recording will be available relatively soon, in a few hours or latest tomorrow. So there will be new webinars coming. We will announce them directly in emails and also on LinkedIn. It's going to be a new webinar next Wednesday with ESG Energy, and that will be announced very, very soon. So thank you all and take care. Have a nice day onwards. Okay.
Thanks.